Happy to have the opportunity to speak on this motion, in particular acknowledging the International Day of Sign Languages on the 23rd of September. And I want to add my gratitude to all of the educators, whether in TAFE or in our schools or across our community, who support the learning of AUSLAN and indeed recognise the importance of AUSLAN to our community, in particular our deaf community. I think when I was the Minister for Education, we were still calling schools like Clemsig Primary and Adelaide High and the other schools with a particular focus on deaf education. I think they were still at that time called Centres for Hearing Impairment. And I remember taking a meeting fairly early on in my time as the Minister from representative groups seeking to have that nomenclature changed, the Centres for Deaf Education. The pride in the deaf community that AUSLAN being understood as a language, not just something to assist people in getting around in their daily lives, was really important to them, and it was an easy change to make, and so we got that done fairly quickly. And so having this motion, I think, is a good opportunity for the Parliament to highlight that important work and the way in which we recognise the importance of AUSLAN. I think we have in our schools a desire for every school student in Australia to learn languages. Sometimes we do get caught up in the communication about how we do that and its importance and the benefits. Learning languages provides many benefits to children and young people, and the different languages that children and young people learn potentially also adjust the nature of the benefit they get. We know that learning what we'll call the Romance languages, sometimes they assist in certain mechanisms of how we communicate in English. The common derivations that German or French or Italian or Spanish have with the English language provide certain benefits. Learning a number of Asian languages presents different challenges and different opportunities. Certainly for students who want to go on to work in business in Southeast Asia or right on our doorstep, then having language opportunities in Asian languages is beneficial too. AUSLAN as a language within this context provides a different range of opportunities for our students and young people. And I think that particularly the way in which it opens up our young people's minds to how they can communicate with somebody communicate with a deaf person or another person who speaks sign language, who is able to use AUSLAN, is really beneficial. But when we talk about intercultural understanding, when we talk about empathy, when we talk about all of the different capabilities that we want our school system to imbue in young people alongside the knowledge and the key pieces of information that would be considered within the canon, AUSLAN is a really useful subject to be taught in schools. And so you can't do everything in every school, you can't do everything in every classroom, but if we want our young people to learn a language, then having AUSLAN understood to be on the same plane as the other languages is, I think, absolutely appropriate. There's no one language that is a better language for somebody to learn other than English. Then AUSLAN should be considered in that matrix. You know, some other countries in their schooling systems, they assume that English is going to be the second language that is taught, because English is a language that is spoken widely around the world. And every education minister will always say this, that in English-speaking countries, we do less well at encouraging people to speak other languages than countries that don't have English as a first language, across America, across England, Scotland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, well, less so Canada because it's a bilingual nation in many ways, but across the Anglosphere, if you like, this is a challenge. And AUSLAN is a really interesting language to see taught in a classroom, it's got to be said. If you have the opportunity, I encourage all members, if you have the opportunity to see an AUSLAN class in one of your local schools, take that opportunity. It's a glory to behold. It is a calm place in many ways. It is an interesting sight to see. But in raising this as an opportunity, I also highlight one of the real challenges. And it's not just AUSLAN that's a language that has this challenge, but AUSLAN potentially, as much as any language, has the challenge of finding suitably qualified teachers. who are able to give those students a great educational experience, because there just aren't a large number of them. AUSLAN isn't the only language that has this challenge, but schools that have chosen AUSLAN as a language would regularly report to me either how grateful they were that they'd been able to hold on to their teacher, or what a challenge it was for them to be able to find a suitably qualified and capable teacher. Somebody who is fluent in AUSLAN as well as a qualified teacher, and be able to do great work in the classroom. In a number of schools, they resolve this by having teachers learning AUSLAN as they go, and the teacher does their best to stay, at least 1 year's less learning ahead of the class that they're teaching, and that can be a solution. But certainly, while our Centres for Deaf Education, and there's a handful of them across the public school system, are, I guess, lighthouse peaks of achievement, there are a large number of other schools that would like to teach AUSLAN as their language, and the work that we do to encourage a suitably large and growing pool of AUSLAN teachers is important work. So I commend them in that work. I thank those teachers who are already in the system, and those interpreters who are doing useful work. The member for Torrens highlighted that importance of that work in the pandemic, a time when many people felt isolated, anxious, and uncertain of what the future would be, uncertain of what the next day might look like. And so communication was as important then as at any other time, only more so. And this work was especially important at that time, and it's good that she's highlighted that to the House today. And I thank her for bringing this motion.